Howdy guys, Mac from Double Tap Shooting. Just watched a video from Arm Dynamics, Jeff Bluevman. It's one of the channels I'm subscribed to, and if you guys go down through my subscription list, you'll see that I'm not subscribed to a whole bunch of people. The people I want to watch and people I really want to pay attention to are the only ones I really watch. I think I actually one day I need, and I'm from Pennsylvania, Jeff. I'm originally from Punxsutawney. I live in Oklahoma now, but one of these days I need to get up there. I'd like to do some training with you. Wow, gun is dirty. Anyway, but he made a comment of his trigger setup and the way he uses it, and he pointed out that the trigger spring in a Glock is just a piece of metal that can fail. And he's exactly right. It is just a piece of metal that can fail. But what I want to show you guys is something I learned in Glock Armor School that I don't know if Jeff knows or not. He may know it. I may be wasting my time making this video, but it's something. It's some information he might be able to hand on to his students that are running a factory gun. If you take the trigger spring out or it breaks, the trigger can still effectively be reset if you run the trigger as Glock designed it to be shot. And like I said, he may already know this. I might just be wasting my time. But put our gun back together with our spring down here. And I will say I do not run aftermarket, and he commented to this in the video, and he's exactly right. I do not run aftermarket trigger springs or lighter trigger springs. I run factory trigger springs. I do run a different connector. I run a ghost trigger connector. Never had a problem with them. Never had it let me down or fail me. There's nothing wrong with factory trigger either, honestly. I just like the over travel stop that the Ghost gives me. Now, put our gun back together, our trigger is dead because we have no trigger spring. However, if you hold the trigger to the rear when you cycle the gun, now let it out, the gun will cycle flawlessly. So as you press that trigger and get that pop, bang, the gun cycles. If you've held the trigger to the rear during the cycle process, when the slide comes back into battery, then you can let out on the trigger and it'll fire again. It'll work all day long. However, you press the trigger, let out on it, cycle the gun, you're back to a dead trigger. So if this happens to you and you've got a bone stock Glock and you're bang, 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 and whatever trigger reset you're currently using, you get that click, you rack the gun, and round pops out, and it was a live round, and you look at it, it's still going. Try holding the trigger to the rear, cycle the gun, now we're back in the gunfight. Just something to keep in mind that when you're training, I run that trigger reset naturally now. I hold the trigger to the rear until I'm ready to press the trigger again. So even on speed shooting, this works. It takes a little bit of effort and a little bit of time to essentially train yourself that that's the way it should work. And I had no intentions of making a video, so I'm using the back of a handcuff key in my teeth to get this gun apart. But the other thing you really should know, or should try to keep in mind, is that this gun absolutely is a tool. It's not a pliers works too, I guess. It's not. It's a piece of metal and plastic. It can and will break, especially if you take it out and you beat the shit out of it and you train hard enough, which I do. I really believe Jeff does. That's why I'm gonna spend some time and go train with him. But anyway, I prove to you that there is in fact no spring in this gun. This wasn't some kind of stupid movie magic, or I didn't cheat and stick one in there or whatever. But when you do put this spring in, it's important that when you put it in, you don't hook it backwards. The spring being out, turn on the light. Alright. So you've got your trigger connector. Your spring will basically make an S as you go. The S should work so as that you come down to the back side and hook in and then roll forward, and then when it goes onto your trigger bar, the same thing applies. And what this does is this, when I can get it, what that does is that keeps that spring from falling off when it's actually in the position it is in the gun. But anyway, just quick little video about trigger reset. Like I said, if you run the Glock trigger the way Glock intended it to be run, which is held back after fire and while the gun is cycling until it finally goes back into battery, which is truly milliseconds, boys and girls. We're not talking about days or weeks or months or anything that will bother you in a gunfight. But once you teach yourself to truly run that as it's supposed to be run, even with a broken trigger spring, and that it will in fact reset. But anyway, just quick little video. I'm Mac from Double Tap Shooting. I appreciate you guys watching. Go check. I'll put a link to. There goes my parts. Don't throw your parts on the ground. I'll put a link to Arm Dynamics down there in the notes, because I really do believe that they would be worth training with, especially if you're on the East Coast and it's not a massive trip for you. Appreciate you guys watching, and have a good day.